I was just hearing Brian say thank you for staying late, and I was thinking here, what late? We are just going to get started now. So I hope you all have energy remaining to hear this wonderful panel. And it is my pleasure to have this panel here talk about energy and water nexus, which is really a very intricate balance between the two. When you talk about energy, you can't do so without talking about water, and vice versa. When you talk about water, you need energy. So it's a marriage made in heaven. We're trying to make sure that it stays that way, and they are sustainably linked with each other. Let me quickly introduce the panelists here. I have with me Dr. James Andilile. I hope I got the name pronounced it right. He's the Director General of Energy and Water Utilities Regulatory Authority, EWURA. So, while of course there's a lot about him that we can say on his professional achievements, there is an interesting fact that I'd like to share that he's happy to share with all of you. He is actually a preacher as well, and he goes to the church every Sunday and preaches. And people listen to him, and I hope his children also listen to him. He's got teenage children. Next, I have Vinayak sitting there, who's director for oil in Cairn Oil and Gas. The interesting fun fact about Vinayak is that he doesn't have a second name. He's a British citizen, and by the very quirk, you have to have a second name. If you don't, they just mention XXX as a second name. So his name in the passport reads as Vinayak XXX. Welcome, Vinayak XXX, to this forum. Next, I have another very interesting personality, Dr. PKC Bose. He's chairman Cambi India, but that's just one of his many hats. And I've forgotten all the roles that he plays. He's told me he's on the board of ArcelorMittal. He's on the board of Enercon. He is also the only Indian in the German Senate. His interests are wide, as are his passions. He's passionate about green energy, environment, and water. Finally, and we have Shital Khot, who's the chairman and MD for SNF Flopam India Private Limited. And he'll talk more about the company, but as he mentioned to me, his company treats 70% of the world's water. An interesting thing he told me is, during the time of COVID, he had 99% uptime of his staff. So we've all heard of COVID warriors being doctors and government officials who supported, but here are unsaid stories as well which supported the generation or the growth or the continued production of crude oil across the country at that time when it was needed. So welcome, Shital, to the panel. Like I said, we have a very interesting discussion around energy and water nexus and how does it work. So I'm going to start with the question, first of all, to Dr. James, who, as I said, is a regulator for the Energy and Water Utilities Authority. So it's interesting that the same authority is regulating energy and regulating water. So my first question to you, Dr. James, is, given EWURA's role in regulating both the energy and water, and also knowing that Tanzania per se is very dependent on hydropower generation. The link between water and energy could not be, more crucial when you have hydropower coming to the grid in such a large quantities. So, how are you looking at energy and water nexus in Tanzania, and how do you regulate? Which bodies regulate water and which bodies regulate energy, and how do the two talk to each other to ensure regulation is seamless?
Thank you so much, Moderator, for the opportunity. Before I embark on responding to the questions, I would like to bring to the attention that Africa is endowed with enormous resources, both water and energy. And what is of critical importance that how to utilize that resource to make it transform our socio-economy. As an introduction that despite of the resource endowment, almost like 300 million of people in Africa they don't have access to clean water, and around 600 million people do not have access to clean energy, which impaired the attainment of Sustainable Development Goals number 6 and number 7. So, despite of the resource, what we are seeing that things they are rapidly changing, which posing threat with regard to sustainability of water supply and also the security of supply. In terms of ensuring sustainability of the water supply for the benefit of the present and future generations, in our country, the issue of regulation of the sector is coordinated by multiple organs. We have the Ministry of Energy, which is coordinating policy and sector planning for energy sector. We have the Ministry of Water, which is responsible for policy and issuance of water rights and other permits. Also, we have the Vice President Office and what we call National Environmental Management Councils that is responsible for environmental related issues. So, as far as the regulator is concerned and ensuring that energy projects and water projects are synchronized, our duty largely is to oversee compliance from various organs. Before granting an approval for energy project, what we do, we ensure that all the necessary permits have been obtained, including water rights permits, also land use permits, and consent from the responsible Ministry of Energy to undertake the specific project.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. So I think that's clearly an integrated role that different ministries play, and to ensure that all permits are in place, looking at both energy and water. And as you said, there are a lot of people don't have access to clean water and energy, so it's really important. Thank you for those opening remarks. Vinayak, I'll come to you next. Cairn has been a pioneer in technological innovation within the oil and gas sector. And so can you talk a little bit about the innovations that you are looking at to minimize water usage and enhancing water recycling in your operations?
Sure. Thanks for the question, and I must say that it's a pleasure to be here. India Energy Week has grown year on year, and this is the 3rd edition. And it was very nice to hear the Honorable Tanzanian Deputy Prime Minister in the opening ceremony as well talk about how hydropower has been the main source of energy and to the extent being surplus power which is exported outside as well. So quite a remarkable achievement that the country has achieved. As far as Cairn is concerned, being the largest private oil and gas producer, exploration and production company in the country, it comes with an immense sense of responsibility in terms of how we do our operations. Now, we started production in 2009, and since then we have made sure that we have sustainability as our key, although sustainability has become a buzzword very recently, and ESG has also been gaining momentum very recently. But sustainable operations and sustainable production has always been one of the core pillars of Cairn. How we do that? As you know, that major operations for Cairn happen in the state of Rajasthan, which is generally a desert, arid state. And the numbers are quite big in terms of the amount of water that we or liquid that we process is close to 1.2 million barrels of liquid a day, which is a huge quantity of water. Now, one can always say that, what do we do with that water? So, when we actually get water from our wells, A lot of that water, we do the first level of separation where we remove oil and gas from the water. So the left out water is then filtered and mixed with the saline water that we have in the Rajasthan as well, and then heated and then pumped back into the reservoir. So there's very less amount of water that we waste in that operations. Majority of the formation water, as we call it, or produced water, as we call it, is injected back into the reservoir. And this cycle repeats on and on and on. And that is why we are very proud to say that in terms of withdrawal of water that is not injected back is very limited. Whatever water we cannot inject back, we use it in things such as our green belt management as well. So this is something that we do very extensively in our Rajasthan operation.
Right, thank you. I think that's great to know, how you're recycling that water and again pumping it back. I think it will be again a point of discussion when we come to Shital because, he's also active in this. But before that, Dr. Bose, coming to you, can you talk about reusing wastewater for energy production? What are the technologies available globally? And what are the other countries doing on this when it comes to wastewater and energy production from it?
Thank you, Mr. Chugh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to share with you that, the circular economy, when we are talking about circular economy, India is lacking so much behind when you look at the Western world. Just as an example, if you take the United States, there is only one law, the US EPA, which is called the United States Environmental Protection Agency. This is across the United States, the one law is applicable and everybody has to follow that. The same as in Europe, every country has their own policies, but in India we still don't have this. So what is happening is that if you really look at it, India don't have a shortage of drinking water. Like James said that, there's so much of problems for drinking water in Tanzania or the African countries. India, we don't have the demarcation between consumption and conservation. And therefore, people just use everything and then misuse it. And therefore, we have a shortage of water. So in the Western world, it is not. For example, I live in Germany, and the energy and water, it is a clear guideline because it is so expensive, therefore we limit the usage. So coming to the technology side, the United States or the Western world, we have so much of new technologies and systems in place, therefore the system does work. In our country, the problem is we do not have a regulatory stringent systems, and therefore everybody take things for granted and you end up in water crisis. So otherwise, if you take an example of the sludge or the sewage water, converting the sewage water, the water will go for the STP. In all the other part of the world, they discharge this. After treating this, they discharge to the canals or the river, etc. In India, before treating itself, they discharge it. So this is how we pollute our rivers and the beautiful serenity of the countries, whether it is land or the rivers. But this needs to be changed, and this can only change when you have a stringent policy and regulatory systems in place.
Right. Thank you so much for those comments, and we'll come back to you to understand more about the Cambi technology of sludge treatment. Shital, coming to you, your company is a leader, as I understand, in manufacturing water-soluble polymers, what you told me. So can you talk a little bit about how these products are contributing to water conservation and recycling efforts, particularly in the energy sector?
Yeah. Good evening, and thank you, Gurpreet, for introduction. So basically, SNF, we are the water-soluble polymer manufacturing company, and historically, we are the world's largest municipal and industrial water treatment company as well. In terms of energy sector, in oil and gas, where we are pioneer into the polymer flooding, these setups where we can make a quick production enhancement so that it will be a plug and play, and where currently, if we see, the water cut is rising in the world like anything. So almost major oil producers with the brownfield, they are producing 90 to 98% of water from their field. Only 2 to 5 barrels of crude oil per 100 barrels they produce. So treatment of those things is quite costly. Again, as Vinayak said, to treat those things, to again re-inject those things, or to use it for the gardening or the plantation purpose, there are several norms as well, like COD, BOD has to be maintained and all the things as per the regulations. So without those things, we can have the polymer flooding where we can minimize the water cut and get the extra oil gain from the fields as well. And we can reduce the 3x times the water consumption and 3x times the water treatment from the fields as well. So with that, we can save a lot of CO2 energy generation, and we can get the green energy out of those things where we can maximize the production, because again the polymer flooding is nothing but a viscous water flooding. So we viscosify the water. So other technologies, if we see, means in situ combustion or microbial and all the things, so those are into the premature stage, or still a lot of research need to be there. But in terms of polymer flooding, where it is a proven technology since last 4 decades, and where we can reduce drastically the water consumption, and we can reuse, retreat and re-inject the water and minimize the carbon footprints as well.
Right. Thank you for that. I'll come back to you, Dr. James. You gave us a good idea about how the regulation of water and energy happens in Tanzania. I'd really like if you could also give some examples of how, especially, if you have hydropower in Tanzania and you therefore need water to generate electricity, are you therefore also using this water for agricultural purposes after electricity generation? How are you meeting the different needs of, power generation as well as water requirements of the country and balancing the two? Any examples that you have to share would be very valuable.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. In the context of Tanzania, at the present, we need both. We need water, we need the energy. As currently, about 80% of our people have access to electricity, and about 75% of our people have access to clean water. So we still have a target to achieve the SDGs by 2030. And when it comes to how do we ensure efficient use of water, to a large extent we are adopting two approaches. One being on when it comes to power generation is on the choice of technology that we use. For example, of the recent, we have implemented 2 projects. One being Lusumo hydropower, which is generating about 8 megawatts, and it is on the border with the Burundi and the Rwanda. It is a shared resource, so we share whatever we are generating. And also we have Kihansi 180 megawatts. 180 megawatts. That most of the hydro power projects in the past were reservoir based, but of the recent we are migrating to run of the river technology, which ensures the ecology is not tampered with and ensures the sustainability of water supply. Also, we have opted to go into what we call integrated water resource management, that whenever we are implementing one project, whether it is on power or it is on water, we normally make sure that the two are integrated. For instance, we have constructed the so-called Julius Nyerere hydropower plant, which is in the tune of 2,115 megawatts. And to ensure that the water on the downstream are fully used, the project was set up in the manner that on the downstream, we have fishing activities, we have farming activities, and also we have water-related service activities for domestic use. So whatever water that comes out of generation, they are not wasted. Also, we have some water-related project. For example, we have Kidunda project, which is a purely water project. But also we are combining it with the power generation of around 20 megawatts. So in addition to providing water, we ensure that the same water is used for power generation. We have another project which is called Songwe, which is in the border with Malawi, in which we are intending to generate about 180 megawatts again. For that project, the way it has been set up, that in addition to facilitate floods control, it will be used for power generation, but also it will provide water for other usage. Right. So what we are seeing that if we package those projects in such manner, there is no waste of water. Sure. We reduce the wastage of water and ensures sustainability.
Right. No, great. Thank you for those examples. All great examples. Run of the river, combined integrated project, which includes economic activities like fishing, farming, together with electricity generation. I think there are some great examples to share and for everyone to follow. When I'm coming back to you, as you said, you're one of the largest private sector crude producers in the country. And there's a significant contribution to India's domestic crude oil from Cairn. So any big measures you are taking to ensure that your water management practices and sustainability goals are aligned? Is water management also part of your sustainability goals?
Sure. So first of all, Cairn has a very ambitious target of becoming net zero by 2030. Not many oil and gas companies around the world will be able to declare that as an official target for them to achieve net zero by 2030. So we are proud of that, and we are working towards in that direction quite extensively. A lot of the comments made by Shital was quite relevant in terms of how his organization, which is already helping us in reducing that water cut and increasing our production of oil and gas from our existing reserves. Now, in terms of our water management policies, see, we have a unique, again, as I mentioned, our main operations are in Rajasthan. So the way it works is that just a few hundred feet below the surface of the earth is the freshwater reserve, which is used by the local communities for drinking purposes, etc. Then you have a 300 meter approximately of insulation of pure clay. And below that, those 300 meters, you have a big saline aquifer. This is the saline aquifer that we use for our oil and gas operations. Now, you would be surprised to hear that since our production started in 2009, so it's been 15 years already, we have only consumed or used 0.14% of that aquifer. So this is how remarkable and sustainable our operations has been throughout. Now, on the forward-looking and futuristic side of things, we want to grow as an organization. We used to produce 220,000 barrels of oil a few years back. Now we are down to 110,000 barrels. We would like to go back to that 200,000 plus barrels of oil, which means that we have to take a few projects such as shale oil, shale gas. People who know the oil and gas industry would appreciate that it is claimed to be a very heavy consumer of water. Now the idea is that how to do that sustainably. I mean, we are sitting here. One of the primary reasons is that statistics speak. India has 4% of global water supply, but it accounts for 18% of global population. So that itself tells you that we don't have ample resources to waste around. So we have to make sure that we utilize every ounce of water that we have. On the compliance side, James mentioned that, and in the Indian context, we have the Central Pollution Control Board, which constantly monitors. What we do at our end is we have observation wells, which we monitor on a regular basis to make sure that our water, which is treated and produced water from the reservoirs, is not contaminating that freshwater layer, which is just a few hundred feet below. In addition to that, every pre-monsoon and post-monsoon, we do observations and sample analysis of tube wells in the villages that we operate, because we operate in a very dense area populated by villagers which use the land for agricultural purposes as well. So those monitoring happens on a continuous basis, and the data is regularly shared on a real-time basis with the Pollution Control Board as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for all those comments. Great to know that the water use is very less, and you're actively monitoring to make sure that there is no groundwater level pollution as well. Thank you for that, Dr. Bose. Coming to you, and I know time is less, but probably I'm going to go a couple of minutes beyond the time just to conclude this session. But Dr. Bose, coming to you, can you talk a little bit about the thermal hydrolysis process and the benefits of this process, both from a water perspective and from the energy perspective?
Yeah, sure. So thermal hydrolysis process, this is basically, it is a patent of Cambi, and so in the sewage water, the water is being taken away and treated. That is the sewage treatment plant, and then you can discharge this to the canals and seas or river or whatever it is. But the sludge is the biggest challenge. The sludge, in India we have less than 30% of the sludge is being treated. So if the sludges can treat and convert to biogas, so in the thermal hydrolysis process we don't need so many digesters. Only with one digester we compress we take it to 165 degrees and then compress it. So the biogas production compared to the traditional system, it increases 50% or more. And the biggest advantage is the last one, what you get out of it, you can use it as a biofertilizer. So this is what exactly we are talking about, the circular economy. From the sludge, you again generate revenue, and imagine that all the sludges are treated well in this process, then you will be able to get so much of power. The biogas is one of the ignorant area of India, because we have wind, solar, still it is growing well, but the bio is completely neglected because of no proper regulatory or policy systems in place. And therefore, this kind of advanced technologies are yet to come to India, but luckily we have the first project in the biggest municipal corporation in Mumbai, so the entire sludge treatment will be undertaken by us, and this is a great initiative because this is a Supreme Court monitoring project, therefore I hope this will take place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck for this first project. As you said, it's an excellent project. It treats the water, uses the sludge, generates biogas, and 50% more with your technology. 50%. So you not only treat the water, you generate energy, and you remove all odors. So when you are using the remaining sludge, it's odorless and it can be used as manure. So improvements all around. Excellent. Many congratulations. Shital, I'll come to you perhaps for my last question. So can you talk about the innovative approaches that your company is adopting to enhance the efficiency of water treatment processes, and how do they support the broader goals of sustainable energy production? Although we've heard some statistics from Cairn, but since you are working with a number of companies across the world,
So in the world, we are working on several projects, more than 350 projects we are associated with the polymer flooding and ASP flooding as well, where we are reducing the water cut. Like I will give one classic example of ONGC field. So it started the flooding in 2020, and we reduced the water cut by 30%. Even in fact, into the peak COVID period, the injection was there, and we have given the uptime for that one. And with that, the ONGC gained almost 300% extra oil gain from that field, so that they have to minimize the water treatment on the surface. And again, they are gaining the extra oil gain from those fields, and which is accelerating production. So that as of now, India is energy hungry. So if we keep on working only on the ESG and all the things, we cannot sustain. So with minimizing all the carbon footprints, how can we fulfill our energy demand? So that is also important, and that with that we are working in several projects and giving very good results. Another classic example, in our Gandhidham plant, we have the zero liquid discharge as well. So where we are treating 380 KLD per day, again back to the process, treating it and reusing, recycling those water, so that zero discharge will be there on the surface, and we protect the environment and we recycle the water, what is coming from the effluent treatment as well.
Right. No, thank you, and thank you for sharing those examples and numbers as well from some of your projects where clearly sustainability is important, as is energy production. Energy needs are growing, water needs are growing, so both have to go hand in hand. So I think with that, we've probably come to the end of this panel discussion, and I'd really like to thank all the panelists for taking time out, staying back late in the day, coming in with full energy at this time as well, and sharing their insights. I do imagine that there's a recording here, and which can certainly be shared for wider reach as well for the panelists. And I've learned quite a lot, knowing about Tanzania and how Tanzania is making sure policies are well aligned to conserve water, but to also generate energy. I've learned from SNF about their technology, which is patented, and the water-soluble polymers that are used in the oil and gas business, which then, of course, Vinayak has also attested to, that they've been using a lot of new technologies to reduce the water consumption. And finally, from Dr. Bose, that you have wastewater, which is a big problem, as you all know, in Delhi, and sometimes the election results depend on it as well when we talk about the Yamuna pollution. And here is a technology which can actually treat that water sludge, generate energy out of it, get the clean water, and then what is left can be used as manure, which is odorless. So I don't see any downside at all that you have. So all the best to you. So many thanks for sharing these insights, and I wish you the best for the future in your organizations in leading this way sustainably towards a future which is where the energy needs have to be met sustainably as well as do water needs. So thank you very much, and thank you to the audience who's also stayed back so late to listen to this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurpreet.